Hi everyone, it's Caroline from Caroline Rothwell Therapy. Today I thought we'd wing it. I'd like to talk to you about fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, ME, kind of all under the same lovely umbrella of horrible symptoms, and something that's very close to my heart as well. I was formally diagnosed in 2007 with fibromyalgia. I went private because I just couldn't find anybody that knew what it was. And it was actually a physiotherapist who was giving me acupuncture in my legs and my feet to see if that would help the pain I was feeling in my legs and my feet. And after about 6 sessions of this, he said to me, "Caroline, I think I know what this is." And I said, "Okay," well, expecting the worst. And he said, "Well, I've seen a lot of soldiers coming back from Afghanistan that have got these symptoms where they've got unexplained pain all over different parts of the body, and there's no cause behind it. It moves around. You can treat one area and then the next day the feet will be painful, or their elbows will be painful, or they'll have a really bad headache." Stream of symptoms. And I said, wow, fantastic. Somebody actually knows what this potentially could be. So he put me in touch with the private fibromyalgia consultant, and that was at Sheffield. And he prodded and poked about 32 extra pressure points that I'd got all over my body, and I was in tears. I fell on the floor. He touched a part of my shoulders here, and literally my knees buckled. I was in so much pain. Now, I pretty much got the top range in terms of score and how painful all these pressure points were all over my body. And basically, after paying all that money, all I got was a leaflet and told, yes, you've got fibromyalgia, off you go. I started to get worse over the next couple of years, and they sent me to the Sheffield Hallamshire to have some bloods done, like a full blood panel at the Tropical Diseases Centre there, which I found was hilarious. They did a full blood panel. I saw the lady, and the consultant was lovely and explained that, unbeknownst to me, I'd had glandular fever when I was younger, and research dictates, or had dictated at that point, that people who'd got or who'd had glandular fever at some point, and that normally happens in your teenage years, get ME, chronic fatigue, or fibromyalgia later on in life. There's a percentage there, so don't quote me on that. But what she did say to me was, you're more likely to go on to develop it if you've had that, because it's a massive virus that attacks everything. So I literally, again, broke down in tears because I knew there was nothing that they could do. I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to go back to work. I'd been out of work for ages. I've got a new baby to look after. And nobody understood, even my family understood how I felt, how tired I was all the time. No matter how much or how little sleep I had, I never woke up refreshed. The pain in my feet was horrendous. I couldn't stand for very long because of my knees. My back was really painful. And trying to, run around after a toddler as well, that was really, really difficult. So I started to educate myself as much as I could about fibromyalgia and the brain, and how to retrain your brain out of fibromyalgia, or at least closing the pain gap. There's a pain gate with pain, and you can close it. It's never shut completely. No one is ever without pain completely from one day to the next. But I did learn really how to close that gate a little bit, so I could at least get myself through a day without collapsing. A lot of mental training went into that. So there was a lot of having to, and psychological as well, I had to stop doing everything I was doing. I had to stop being everything for everybody, which was really difficult for me. I had to stop doing the housework. I had to stop work. I had to give up work. I had to have lots of rest. I had to be very careful about how I expended my energy. So little things like, if I needed to go up and downstairs 4 or 5 times a day with clothes or anything else, I used to use a pilot at the bottom of the stairs and then literally crawl up or lift them on my bottom till I got to the top of the stairs. And there were some days where I was literally crawling on the floor to put things away, or crawling on the floor to get out of bed to get to the toilet, because I just could not stand up. I was in so much pain. It was really a horrible time because I wanted to do everything with my daughter. I did as much as I could with her, but it was exceptionally difficult. The pain was horrendous, and there's nothing that they can give to you for it either, and it never goes away. I don't sleep, even now, I don't sleep very well, and I started getting really anxious that because I couldn't sleep, I was really not in a great place to be able to look after everybody and do everything the following day. And my pain levels used to feel like they'd gone sky high if I'd had a really bad night the night before. If I'd had a good night, I did feel a little bit better the following morning, where most people go to bed and they'll have a full tank of petrol when they wake up. And when they get up in the morning, it's still full. And then they'll use that during the day. And then when they go back to sleep, it fills up again. So they get up and they feel refreshed and they've got a full tank of energy and petrol. When you've got fibromyalgia, it's the opposite. You're always either in a deficit or you're at zero. And depending on what you do during the day, how much exercise or exertion you do during the day will have a negative impact on the small energy levels that you've got. And that's what I was working with every day, either zero or in a deficit. And I never felt refreshed. When I woke up, I felt worse. I used to feel more tired every day. The result of all of this meant that I was literally out of work for 6 years because the GPs didn't know what they were doing. They didn't give me any advice. So like I said before, I had to do my whole education bit to try and educate myself enough to get myself out of that situation. Now, a lot of people are very, very, very poorly with fibromyalgia and end up in hospital. They're in wheelchairs, they can't walk, or they have to learn to walk again. They have to have carers. I'm really, really lucky, really, really lucky. But I almost got to the point where I was admitted because I was so poorly. And I knew that if I went to the hospital, I probably wouldn't, I'd come out, but I'd be in a wheelchair, and that scared me to death. So I did what I did. I found a great book about the amygdala and the fight and flight response, and trying to dial that down to stop all the cortisol in your body from being in overdrive. I learned how to meditate. I learned how to stop ruminating about everything that I needed to get done. I had to learn how to forgive myself for not being able to do everything that I needed to do as a parent, as a wife, as a family member. I had to say no. I had to be really quite strong and forceful with people. If they asked me if I wanted to go on an outing or go out overnight somewhere, I couldn't go because I knew I wouldn't sleep and I knew I'd feel terrible afterwards. And it seriously curbed my social life as well. So I did feel trapped in the house a lot. I could just about manage to push a trolley around Sainsbury's eventually, but it took a long time to get to that point with my daughter to get the shopping every week. This is before deliveries came. That's how old I am. So what I'm getting at here is it's a fibromyalgia and ME and chronic fatigue syndrome. They're all on a sliding scale. You can be brilliant one day and then absolutely terrible the next. You can do a full day at work maybe on a Monday, but then by Wednesday you can't get out of bed. And you never know every night when you go to sleep how you're going to feel when you wake up in the morning. And it's that uncertainty that then starts generating the anxiety, because you don't know what your body's doing. Your body's doing something completely different to what you want it to do. And you don't understand why you're waking up with pain in different parts of your body and it's moving around. And trying to normalise that in your mind and fit that into your life is incredibly difficult. But the one thing the consultant did say to me was, well, what is a normal life? Everybody's different. Everybody has a different normal. What we need to change is your normal. You're running around after everybody and doing everything for everybody. There's nothing we can do about the fact that you've got a toddler, but she'll be going to preschool soon, so you'll have a little bit of extra time. You need to delegate. I literally got told off. I got told off. She told me to delegate and to give my husband at the time the chores to do, show him how to do them, let him get on with it. I was told I needed plenty of rest on my bed and only do small amounts every day and build it up slightly, more and more and more. I completely ignored the GP advice, which at that time was graded exercise, because I didn't agree with it. When I exercised, I felt even worse. I could barely stand, let alone exercise. So I did it on my own. I knew how far I could push my body before it was going to push back big time. And if I knew that we were going to go out for the day somewhere, I would make sure that I would really rest well and not do a great deal 2 days before. Now, I knew that I was going to really suffer for it the day after, but it was worth it because it meant we got out of the house. And round about that time as well, like I said, I wasn't working, so financially it was really difficult, and that put a lot of strain and stress on my family as well as me. And managing the pain was the main thing for me, and managing the sleep. Now, I got stuck in the middle between my GP and the consultant that I saw. The consultant wanted to give me sleeping tablets. Now, I think I was only 26 at the time. So I could then get a really good night's sleep and cope better with the pain that I was in the following day. Because everybody knows if you're really stressed or you're poorly, your pain feels worse than it actually is. That's just what it does. It makes you feel worse. It makes your pain feel worse. And my GP was adamant he wasn't giving a 26-year-old sleeping tablets every night for indefinitely. So we went back and forth, back and forth. My doctor wanted me to go on antidepressants when I wasn't depressed. He thought that if we dealt with the pain during the day, that I'd sleep better at night, and it was the opposite with the consultant. I wanted the sleeping tablets because I know that antidepressants don't do anything for me. They make me feel worse. And I did try amitriptyline for a while, and it's one of the worst drugs that I've ever taken, and I got myself off it after about 3 years. Gradually got myself off it, and I can't tell you how much better I felt after I got off those. I'm not saying don't take them if they're offered. If you want to try them, take it, but that was my experience. I found that they were horrific, absolutely horrific. So I got the sleeping tablets. Again, there's probably not a GP on earth now that would prescribe sleeping tablets for fibromyalgia, so I guess I'm lucky that I managed to get that and keep it for as many years that I've had it, and that has been my saving grace. And doing a lot of work on myself in terms of education, empowering myself to say no to people, talking to other parents about it as well. Just bear with me while I have a drink. I found that there was a lot of parents in the schoolyard who had actually got it, and excuse me, and weren't talking about it. And my little girl had got a best friend, and her mum told me that she'd got it. She was a teacher. She woke up one morning, couldn't feel her legs, couldn't get out of bed, ended up in a wheelchair in hospital. It took her nearly a year to start learning how to walk again, to drive again, and being able to take a little girl to school again. And then it took her another 3 or 4 months walking from the car to the playground, and another month to be able to stand up for 20-25 minutes waiting for the children to come out of school. That's how bad she was. And it ran in her family as well, and her children ended up getting it as well, which is really scary when you think about it. There isn't enough information out there about fibromyalgia because it's got so many overlapping symptoms to other illnesses, and most GPs don't really know much about it. I went back and back and back and back, and they just kept sending me to different consultations for different things, you know, physiotherapy, acupuncture, pain management clinic. I did all of it, did every single thing they threw at me, I did it, and nothing worked. And I just thought enough's enough, so that's what I did. I educated myself out of it. I still suffer, but I know now what my limitations are. So there are certain things that I won't do that I know will cause me pain, and I want to make you guys aware that it's something that I can support you with in my practice, because I've been through it myself, and I went through it at a time where nobody knew what it was. There's a lot more information out there now about fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. There are support groups, there's websites, there are forums, and it's fantastic. However, if you want, or you've just been diagnosed, or you're going through a really, really bad patch, give me a call. Jump on the website, crothwelltherapy.com. It's something that I do support people with, and fill in the form on the Contact Us tab and send it over to me, and we can get you booked in and then have a chat about where you are in the process, and basically how to make your life a little easier, less painful, so you can at least try and keep some of that energy that you have for longer and preserve what you've got. We don't deserve to lose our jobs over fibromyalgia. It is now a recognised disability, thank goodness, but it took years for that to happen, and I didn't feel the benefit of that until a few years ago. So if you're struggling, or you don't know enough about what it is, what your body's doing to you, if you've recently been diagnosed and you need some extra help and support, please reach out, give me a call, jump on the website, and we can have a chat about it, and I can give you all the resources that you need as well, because it doesn't only just physically upend you, it absolutely mentally exhausts you as well, and psychologically it's really, really difficult to cope with, as are most long-term health conditions, and that is just one of them, fibromyalgia. So hopefully I'll get to speak to you soon. get in touch. I'm here if you need me. Okay. Thanks for listening. See you soon. Bye.